28 then. Welcome back, George.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, good to be back.
How's the health first and foremost?
Yeah, pretty good. Considering better than I thought it would be at this point. So it's you know, obviously had a pretty nasty crash last week, and the first signs weren't great. And yeah, obviously was out of Swiss after a couple of days of trying to get through. And but I've done all the scans and everything, and I think it's not as bad as it looks. It's just a lot of muscle damage, but no actual separations or anything like that. So yeah, I'm sort of able to get back on the bike and obviously pretty uncomfortable and things like that. But yeah, we're pushing forward at this stage.
Okay, so I just want to spell this out for everyone exactly. So, you're talking about muscle separation, and you guys are hard bastards. We all know that, okay? And so what you talk about when you get injured, you accept a lot of pain and you accept this as consequence of what you do. When you came off your bike, talk us through it. When you came off your bike, what speed you were going, what you felt, or, what flashed through your mind. Give us that.
Well, we're going pretty quick, probably going about close to 70k an hour, and it was just a big fight for an important part of the race, and it wasn't a particularly hard area. It was, and we started going downhill a little bit, and a couple of guys, I don't think people realize how it's sort of quite a lot of contact, and sort of guys were just pushing on a bit too hard for space in front of me, and just touched up wheels and went down, and I just collected them and landed on the pavement, and then yeah. Of course, everyone's riding pretty close, so they all pile on top of you. So yeah, it's it's definitely part of the sport. But yeah, look, honestly, mate, with what happened a couple of days after my crash, I'm not going to stand here and complain about crashing, and I just feel really lucky I was able to walk away from it and essentially no real damage.
You're talking about Gino Mäder, of course, and that, I don't know what words to use to describe it to you, mate. I know that, when you're competing on tour with these guys, you bump wheels, you go hell for leather, but obviously you're all comrades at the same time. And so I wish I could say something to you that would mean something about this. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, thanks. Shit, for me, it's also, it's like for everybody. Obviously we're competitors, but we've raced together for a long time, and yeah, he was super nice guy, Gino, and it's obviously been hard for everyone in the peloton, but I can't even imagine how hard it must be for his close friends, for his teammates, for his family, and yeah, pretty strange feeling when you, like you say, we're fighting each other. It's all, doing everything you can to get an inch on the other guy, and then there is an element that we accept of risk that like you say, when we crash, we do know it's part of the job. A crash a fair bit. Not always as bad as a crash last week, but there is an element of going, okay, yeah, well, that's part of it, and we know there's risk, but I don't accept that dying in the sport is a risk. Well, it's not a risk that not a risk I'm prepared to take, or not that should be. It's not something that should, an outcome that should exist in the sport. And there's definitely, elements of things we can change. But I'm also, I'm not going to point fingers here and say this is because of this or this organizer or this course or this or that. I think it's something that's changing in the sport, but at the moment, I think the main thing is we just sort of, take time to sort of think about Gino and think about, support his friends and family and teammates and stuff. And, I bumped into just out training yesterday, bumped into a teammate of his, that's a close friend of his. And, I think everyone's just in shock really. And we're still sort of grappling with the idea that, guys just died in a bike race.
Yeah. It's such a heavy risk and reward business. At the same time, no one, goes to work thinking that I'm not coming home at night. And let's talk about it in those terms, because that's what you're doing. You are going to work. At the same time, man, can you ever allow yourself to think that, hey, I'm racing 70Ks, as you said before. I got, there's a ravine there. I mean, on that side of the road, it's a big cliff. I mean, a lot of us, we've driven around roads and maybe we've cycled around them, but we haven't raced around them. And it's the same as in motorsport, isn't it, mate? I mean, if you allow that to come into your mind, I mean, it's going to alter the way that you approach a race and perform and things. And so, it's just you must prepare knowing it, but at the same time, do you kind of just divorce it out? It's just like it's an unreal experience.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very strange thought to just think like, okay, we'll pin a number on and get back at it. Like, there's never going to be a good time to do that again. There's never going to be a good time that's going to feel right and say, okay, enough time's passed. Let's go. Elbows out. So
Yeah.
I think you are right. Like, when fear comes into the equation, you don't perform, and it happens to me a lot. Like, depending on how I've crashed. I mean, if I've crashed myself in a corner, it does take a long time to get that confidence back, and then when you start thinking about the possibility of crashing, you brake. If you over brake and you lose the wheel, I mean, you're just not in the race. So there is some kind of mental gymnastics that you have to perform to get yourself to stay on the wheel, or to take those risks. And I think some of us will be ready to do that before others. And I think there'll be no one out there that does it without thinking about, what's happened. And it's actually been far too many in the last sort of 10 years, especially. I mean, all through cycling history, it's actually, but we're traveling faster than ever. The technology's changed, the stakes are higher, everything's just coming up, and it is becoming I don't think there's anyone that's not thinking about it and trying to at least force the thought out of their mind while racing. But it almost feels okay, I'm not going to say disrespectful, but it almost feels quite callous to just go like, right, put it out of your head and keep going, So I think there's something, there's a sort of, I'm sorry, I'm struggling to sort
No,
of
mate, just keep it.
the right
Look,
words.
it's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, look, as I
yeah,
say, I got nothing to add to this. While you're talking, I'm thinking about
yeah,
I'm actually thinking about your friends. This is George Bennett with us, and I'm thinking about
yeah,
your friends. I'm thinking about your family, and I'm thinking about what I would say to you under these circumstances. And look, I don't know. I mean, I'm not in your headspace, and there is an adrenaline surge that you get when you do this. There's an excitement level. There's an arousal level that you get. I mean, you're rock and roll, mate. You're racing on a bike. You're riding with the best guys in the world. You're riding hard out for not only prize money, but the glory and everything else that goes with it. But this just bums you. This just slaps you back down, doesn't it? Real big time.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think what I'm trying to sort of get at is there's a place we all need to arrive at some point to be able to race again properly. And races are happening all over the place, and I think it's just I'm really loath to say that it's part of the sport, because I don't accept that. I accept crashing is, but I don't accept that dying on your bike is part of the sport. So yeah.
You're riding the Tour of Switzerland, though, and again, the terrain. And I'm thinking about, here you go on the Tour de France, and straight away I'm thinking of those mountain stages and those beautiful pictures that we get, and we all love watching it and everything else. But there's no safety barrier on that side of the road, mate, is there? That's it.
No, there's not. And look, and I mean, safety in cycling is, I mean, okay, mountains are one thing. We go, well over 100 km an hour a lot of the time. I think for me, the most dangerous part of cycling by far is actually, we spend 30 hours a week out on the road. So training is, I think of Scarponi that was killed last year, 2 years ago. I think of, a lot of guys and guys I know. A good friend of mine, Jason Lowndes, was killed a few years back in Australia. So, I think training is a really high risk part of the sport. I think being in the peloton in especially in sort of Northern Europe with all the road furniture and the stress of that, you get these big bunch crashes. But yeah, I mean, mountain descents are scary because you are going so fast. So there's a lot of ways to find danger in the sport. And it's by far the worst part of the sport. It's something I love. I feel very, very privileged to be a pro cyclist. Like you say, it's supposedly a job. I mean, I've never seen it as a job, and anyway. But yeah, it is by far the worst thing of the sport, and without that, this would be, the absolute perfection sport for us.
George Bennett is with us. And, again, here we go. And, you got the Tour de France coming up and things, which is, probably the pinnacle of everything that you do on a bike and the highlight of your career and something that, is just so magical and that you get to say afterwards when you retire, how many times did I actually ride this thing? At some stage, that's got to click back in, though, doesn't it? Because that's your business. That's your job, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the tour for me, actually, the tour selection is in a lot of doubt at the moment. It's very far from certain. Given the crash and not being able to actually show any form at Tour de Suisse before, crashed out before we even stage one. So, and dragged myself through a couple of other stages after that, trying to see if I could, but was doing more damage than good. So tour selection is a long way from sure, but I've got the all clear to train from the medical department, and I'm back at altitude. I'm preparing 100% like I'm going, because you need to be ready. If you're not ready, then you're not going. And they can monitor a lot these days with all sorts of metrics. They've got every metric you can imagine is measured, and they see it all. And I'm hoping to prove in the next week that I'm race ready, and see how some other guys develop, and we'll see where that goes. But yeah, the tour is why I ride a bike. The tour for me is everything about cycling. It's why I switched from mountain biking to road cycling, was watching them on the Tour de France, and it is the dream. And especially to go there with the best rider in the world and try and win it is really special. I mean, I feel a lot of unfinished business from last year. Obviously, I got COVID, and the day I went home, we actually lost the jersey, and it just became a really difficult tour for me to watch from the couch, watching the boys, finish second. And so I think for me it would be a really, I'm really just hoping I can be there, and I'm in my head, I'm planning like I'm going, and like I said to Lockie off here, I'll deal with the disappointment of not going, when that time comes.
Who do you train with today, mate? Like, it's such a solitary business in a lot of ways, but at times you got to reach out and you got to go. I mean, is it easier to actually go training with a mate? Is it easier to call up somebody else and say, dude, get on your bike, come on, let's go and do this together? Or how much of this is solitary and you are on your own?
Oh, mate, it's it can be a very lonely lifestyle at times. I mean, not always. I mean, there's obviously a good group of guys around me that I train with, like other pros, but cycling has changed so much in the last few years. Everything is so specific. I'm at the top of a mountain, essentially. No one else is up here at the moment around me, so I'm, and training so specifically. We get given zones, and I'm a climber, and some of my mates are, other Kiwi guys. None of them are climbers, so I can't train in Andorra with them because our zones are different. On the flat, it's a different story. But apart from easy rides, we might do recovery rides and things together. But a lot of the time now, I'm just training solo, and as much as it's like if you need to be motivated, if you need someone to motivate you to get out the door, then you're in the wrong business, because it's, if you're not going out in the rain, if you're not going out in the snow or whatever, you have to be able to suffer so much, or be able to hurt yourself, that if you're needing someone to get you on the bike, then you're not going to be able to push yourself when push comes to shove, to actually go through the pain, required to do the efforts. And so I think group trainings are definitely not a thing that happen a lot anymore.
You're in Andorra at the moment, aren't you, mate?
Yep.
You don't even get the chance to sit there. I was thinking, where the hell's Andorra? And I'm trying to think it's somewhere in the mountains in Europe somewhere. It's around sort of Spain and France or somewhere up there, I think it is. And I'm sure it's an absolutely gorgeous part of the world. You don't get much time to be a tourist, do you, mate?
No. I mean, I see a lot of beautiful places on the bike and do travel a lot.
And probably think, I want to come back here. I'd like to come back here at some stage. We should come back here.
Yeah. I've been dropping pins everywhere on my Google Maps every time I look out the window of the team bus and think, shit, I need to come back here.
Yeah.
Beer in hand and maybe, with my partner and enjoy it. But, I mean, I think we're very lucky to go where we go and travel what we do. And Andorra is a really stunning place. I mean, I'm right up at 2,000 meters at the top of the mountain. We bought a little house up here, and actually as close as I can feel to New Zealand. We've got a couple of cows on the back fence, and a little river running through the property. So it's really like a complete country vibe up here. But you drop down 10k and you're in a big city that basically big tax-free city that feels like an airport. So it's a very strange country, but. It is very beautiful.
2,000 metres, that's about Mount Taranaki, okay? So that's where he is. That's how high he is up there. Wow. George, look, all the very best, mate. I thank you so much for giving us so much time and talking so honestly with us and everything. We think about you a lot. Don't think that we don't. I mean, at least that with the with the internet and everything going on. I mean, I'm sure you get a lot of messages and things, but it's just heartbreaking, when you get a story and you read a story that somebody's died on a tour, and we think about you and we talked about you in the office going, God, I wonder how well he knew that guy and stuff like that. And then think, oh my God, I don't even have time to talk to you about your own injuries. And when they talk about things like abrasions, I mean, for most of us, that's, we got a scratch. I mean, an abrasion for you is half your skin off your leg comes off or something. And then you're talking about, I got to get back in training and make up these numbers and make up these metrics because, somebody's on a computer and they're watching exactly where my body fat is. And I mean, mate, it's just, it's exhausting to think about. It really is. All we can do is think about you, mate. That's all.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's a complicated sport at the moment, and it doesn't help when you put a skin down, but it grows back and doesn't stop. So thanks guys, and thanks for the time, and hopefully you'll see me in July, and if not, I'll see you somewhere. I at least feel like I'm back to physical. I had a year and a half of not riding particularly well, and I feel at least I'm back to my physical peak in terms of power numbers and things like that. So hopefully that means I'm not too far away from being at the front of a bike race again.
Enormously proud of you, mate. Really, really proud of you, eh? Just keep going hard. Head down and keep it going as hard as you can till the day you decide not to.
That's it, mate. All right. Hey, thank you.